A group of missionaries in Cali go to a vulnerable community and spend time with the people of a town who has been forgotten by the country to let them know they are cared for. This year, I decided to join them and went to San Marcos, a community about an hour north of Cali, my hometown. The goal of this week was to give them our time, which is the most valuable thing a person can give to another. We did all kinds of activities, from visiting the people that live nearby and attending them medically, to playing games with the kids. In one of these games, something that I will never forget happened. The activity consisted of one kid from each of the two teams racing towards the balloon and popping it. Inside the balloon, there was a little paper with a word written on it, to which they happened to give a definition to. In one of the races, the kid who won went to pop the balloon, and when he opened the little paper, he said that he didn't know what the word meant. Love. That was the word that was written on the paper. At first, I obviously thought that the kid was nervous or shy. So just to help him out, I told him to describe the feeling he got when he hugged his mom, or when his baby brother was born. His response to that was that he had never felt anything like that, and that he just didn't care. Imagine a 12-year-old kid saying he has never felt love in his life. Is it the kid's fault? Or is it our own? It was this situation and this kind of questions that led me to believe that we have lost our humanity. After thinking about this, my research partner and I have come to a conclusion that there are three main steps and main reasons as to why the world is like it is today. The first one is the prevalence of violence. The second one is capitalism's grasp on us. And the third one is the opposition between race and ethnicity. We have erroneously become indifferent to violence and apathetic towards others. When we hear about a terrorist attack or a school shooting, we only get concerned if the number of victims is less than 10. We are beginning to think of humans as digits, and we often find ourselves thinking, oh, thank God there were only 5 victims. According to the New York Times and psychologist Anita Gadia-Smith, we are living in a world where the news is constantly accessible, and we are informed frequently about disasters all around the world, which has led us to stop caring. Dr. Smith mentions that with the frequency of shootings and terrorist attacks, there's a sense of anxiety that's building in people, a sense of vulnerability and powerlessness. There is a heightened alarm, but there can also be some desensitization that's happening. A few months ago, I was on my school bus going home, when all of a sudden, it started to pour. Just to help you get a clear picture, Colombia sits right on the equator, which means we have a pretty tropical weather. The streets started to flood, and soon, cars couldn't get from one place to another. The streets were replaced by rivers. All we could do was wait. So I decided to chat with my friend, who was sitting right next to me. I was trying to come up with a subject to talk about, and out of my mouth came words that, at the moment, didn't seem harmful. They just seemed like casual conversation. But now that I think back, I am horrified by my words. I asked my friend, how many deaths do you think there will be? As to what he answered, I don't know, perhaps 2 or 3. And I agreed. I thought his guess was reasonable for the strength of the storm. Afterwards, we continued talking about some other important topics and ceased to worry about the lives of the people in Cali. It was the frequency of flooding and consequence of the rainy season that led me to utter this offhand comment. Later on, after reading the news, I realized that, in fact, 2 people died that day. A lower-class elderly couple. It was then that I realized the gravity of my words. But I also realized that the lower class are those who are affected the most about our apathy. According to Laura Rees, a philosophy professor at St. Lawrence University, capitalism has dehumanized us by dividing us into 2 groups, workers and consumers. In her article, she overstates that since products are expected to be perfect in order to sell, we have set certain standards for workers that are simply inhumane. Consequently, workers have to be efficient, punctual, they cannot make a mistake, and to top it all, they are rewarded with the bare minimum. And since technology is advancing at a higher rate than human development, workers are expected to be content with their work, since they can end up being replaced by machines. Because of this, the author expresses that we recognize workers as machines who just do the dirty work so we can buy what we need. Think about the cafeteria workers and the janitors that work at schools. We see them every single day, yet many of us don't even know their names. We unconsciously take them for granted and don't appreciate the work they do for us. We have stopped caring about their necessities, their feelings, and their health, and have focused on what we gain from them instead. The second group that the author talked about is the consumers, who have been fooled by the companies into buying unnecessary goods. Some time ago, the idea of moving from one place to another in a 4-wheeled vehicle would have sounded like an impossible idea. But today, it is impossible to think that a family can only have 1 car. 1 TV for the house is not enough. No, we need to have 1 in the living room, 1 in the kitchen, and 1 in the bedroom. We are not content with what we have, and it is never enough. And since we grew up replacing old clothes with new ones, we began replacing humans and old people with new ones. This is blinding us from the truth that we don't care about each other. And we think we can buy our way out. Just keep consuming until something that I buy will make me complete. But let's not lie to each other. We know that this is not the answer. Coincidentally, in Colombia, the poorest people have indigenous or Afro-Colombian background. And there's a reason for that. In a Stanford University study regarding negative perceptions about darker skin color people, the researchers proved the existence of the Negro ape theory, which consists of associating African Americans as animals, therefore dehumanizing them. Participants were shown quick images of faces varying in skin color, light, dark, and completely white or neutral. They were asked to notify the researcher when they saw animalistic features in the pictures, and they found that many responses linked darker skin color with primates. Additionally, the authors show how, for centuries, culture and society has been justifying slavery and racism through this theory. And we see this in the news all the times. A few years ago, Harvard University professor Henry Louis Gates was arrested at his home by local police because he was seen by his neighbors entering his house through the window, and they mistook him for a burglar. Young black males being kicked out of Starbucks because workers assumed they wouldn't pay for the coffee. And constant cases of police officers murdering or hurting black men on the assumption that because of their skin color, they were criminals. In Colombia, sometimes, it is hard to tell if discrimination is a consequence of race or class. Let's take as an example the story of Don Jose, a 60-year-old Colombian farmer who was denied service at a restaurant due to his appearance. Farmers in Colombia are often categorized as peasants, and they are often seen as less because of their economic situation. Imagine not being able to sit at a restaurant and have lunch just because of the way you dress. I know it is hard to believe, but this is the world we are living in. Take a moment and ask yourself, who am I? Your answer might be a Colegio Bolivar student, a parent, a teacher, a doctor, a lawyer, a child. But why do we define ourselves by what we have? Why do we define ourselves by our skin color? Why are we different towards others? We are not here on this stage to give away solutions. We know that this 10-minute TED Talk probably will make a huge difference. But if just one of us, one of you, begins to change the way you perceive others and put those unconscious discriminations that we all have away, we can take the first step into improving. The world will try to change us, but let's try to change the world instead. Remember the little kid from San Marcos? Let's go back to the story at the beginning of my talk. On the last day of Easter week, the kids started writing letters to us, the missionaries. And one particular letter caught my attention. The same kid who has said that he didn't know what love was or what it felt like was thanking all of the missionaries with a heartfelt hug and a love letter. I have never felt so accomplished in my life. And I honestly believe that the love and dedication we gave to all of those kids made a big difference. I once heard a parable about a man who walked into a store asking for fruit. But the owner said he did not sell fruit, he only sold seeds. This parable shows that you can't expect the world to change on its own or to give you all of the answers. The seeds we are selling are hope, understanding, and empathy. But the fruit that will grow from those seeds is up to you. Thank you.